Hi, this is Mr. Caraggio again. This video for my ninth grade Contemporary Global Issues students. It's the last 2 weeks of school, and we are doing a project where you are thinking about being a political activist, and you're researching an issue that you care a lot about, one that you want to get involved with, and that you want to have an impact on and make some change. So my first video went over the assignment that we gave out on June 1st, which basically was, hey, what is your topic? Why is it important? And what's some of the background information about it? The second video, and by the way, just to be clear that it's a different video, I changed my shirt, and you know what they call this? The magic of Hollywood. That's right, because it looks different. All right. So anyway, so for the week of June 8th and the week of June 15th, we gave you an assignment sheet which asks you to finish up this project. And I want to explain what we're looking for and how you can do a good job on this. So I want to show you the assignment sheet, and here it is. Of course, you'll go to Google Classroom, the Classwork tab, and you'll see it here. And it is this thing, and I already have this brought up. Okay, so there's some instructions there. I'm not going to reread them to you, but it simply says that there's 2 weeks worth of work on this sheet. Okay, we're not going to collect it until you're finished with it, and you need to be finished with it by June 19th because that's the last day of school. Okay, but you can work through it and finish it earlier and send it to us. Okay, so part one. This is important because it deals with what are the different perspectives or what are the different policies that people would like to see adopted for this issue. Okay, and this is where we usually get into controversy, okay, because some people think we should do this, some people think we should do that. The Democrats have a proposal that says, hey, let's increase funding for whatever the program is. Republicans say, no, we can't spend that much taxpayer money on something like this. And usually there's somebody in the middle who says, hey, we need to spend some money on it, but not too much. And so there's usually different perspectives and different policy proposals. So that's what we're asking you to do on this first part, is to just tell us what are those different perspectives. Okay, so we've asked you to do 3 of them. And what it says is, what are a few of the perspectives that have been promoted as the best way to deal with the issue you researched last week, and briefly describe the arguments in favor of each of these proposed policies or proposals. I would say this should be a few sentences. So policy proposal 1, okay, there's one group of people, one political party, some organizations that want one policy, and you'll describe in a few sentences what that is. You're going to tell us, where did you find that information? What are the sources you used? And then here, write down your thoughts and reactions, okay? The last part of this assignment, you're going to elaborate on this, but as you're reading the stuff and finding out, it'll be good to kind of write down in some notes or a few sentences what your thoughts or reactions are. So let me just give you an example. We know that immigration has been a big issue in the United States. When President Obama was in office, he decided that he was going to ask the federal government not to actively uh, uh, detain, arrest, or try and deport people he called the Dreamers. These were people who came to the United States uh, maybe without the proper documentation and papers, but they were kids when they were brought to the United States. And these kids had grown up and gone through high school and done a good job. If they had served in the military or they were doing well in college, Obama said, we don't want to kick these people out of the United States. So he directed the enforcement agencies to not spend time and energy trying to deport these people. Okay, and it's sometimes known as the DREAM Act. Okay, um, since then, Donald Trump's administration has tried to, stop that policy and say, hey, look, anybody who's come into the country without proper documentation, who may be here illegally, may be in violation of some of the rules and laws, they ought to be deported. Anybody who's here without proper documentation ought to be deported. Okay, so those are two different policy proposals. Okay, and then there might be a third one, which would say Congress needs to write a law that deals with people who came here when they were too young to make a decision differently than it deals with these people and those people. But we're going to check in with all of these people, and I'm trying to make up some in-between type policy or perspective. Okay, I should have picked one with 3 really good perspectives, but anyway, hopefully you get the idea. So for your issue, you're going to describe policy number 1, policy proposal number 1, policy proposal number 2, and policy proposal number 3. Okay, now depending on your issue, you may or may not have 3 very clear perspectives or policies. Maybe there are 4. If you want to add another box, copy and paste it, you can do that. If you think that there are 2 main issues, I think you can, I want you to still give us a third one, okay? Because usually there's someone who is offering some sort of compromise, okay? That's a little bit of proposal 1 and a little bit of proposal 2, okay? So try and look for those and to find those. And if you're having trouble finding those, let us know. If you want me to look at your paper, shoot me an email and I can do that. All right, moving on. Okay, so what we are assigning for next week, and you're free to do it this week, is parts 2 and 3. What 3 actions should be taken to address this issue? Okay, it says your proposed actions can be individual, community, group, social, governmental, etc. And here you can also describe what's already being done to address the issue and to what degree the efforts are successful. So out of all of these perspectives, out of all of the background you've researched, we want to know what are 3 or 4 things you think should be done, okay, with respect to this issue. What are the 3 or 4 things that you would push for, okay, as a citizen, as an activist, okay? And you can take a little from one perspective and a little from another perspective. This is entirely up to you. There's an example. In the first week's assignment, we did an example with mail-in voting, and an example might be to say the U.S. government should allow all mail-in voting from every state to guarantee a more democratic voice from individuals. Okay, so that would be a proposal. Some other people feel, oh, mail-in voting could be a problem. Our President Donald Trump thinks It might create too much of an opportunity for voter fraud. So that's a controversy. Then part 3 is where you're going to sum up in your own words and explain to us what this is all about. So how will the actions work? When you say actions, we're talking about the 3 or 4 things that you listed in part 2. Okay, so how will these actions work? So you've got to write a minimum of a good, strong paragraph, 5 sentences, and explain why these proposed actions are the most appropriate and relevant to this issue. Okay, and then how realistic are these actions? Okay, if you're suggesting something that is never going to happen because it's too expensive, or people will never ever agree, talk about that. If you think it's something that people would accept because once they learn about it, talk about that, how realistic. So basically you're going to take the 3 or 4 things that you did in part 2, okay, and here you've just listed them. In part 2 you've just listed them. Part 3, you're explaining why these are the most appropriate. Okay, and you could easily write a paragraph on each one of those, and that's fine. Okay, don't let the size of the boxes fool you. But we are saying that there should be a minimum of a good, strong paragraph, a 5-sentence paragraph. And that is it, okay? You can turn all of that stuff in, through Google Classroom as soon as you're done with it. If you would like me to look at it, before you're totally finished with it to make sure you're doing the right thing, email it to me, ask me to take a look at it, and I would be happy to do that. One last thing that I should mention is that there are some rubrics here. I'm not going to read the whole things to you, but the first rubric has to do with how much research you did and how much important information you collected and used in this project. Okay, the second rubric says how much do you know and understand. Okay, so while the first one is talking about the stuff you researched, how much of the information do you use to try and analyze the issue, to support your proposal, your policies, and so on? So, how well do you use that information in arguing for what you think should be done about the issue that you've picked out? I'm really looking forward, I must say, to seeing what issues you guys have picked out, to reading about what you think would make a difference. And we're not requiring it, but again, I would suggest that if it's an issue you feel strongly about, even though you're not old enough to vote yet, you're old enough to sign a petition, to write an email, to write to a member of Congress, to join an organization. There's a lot of things you can do, a lot of things that an active citizen, a political activist can do even at your age. So anyway, those are the basics. I think I've covered how we want you to do this. If you have questions, get in touch with me. You know how to get in touch with me. Email, Google Classroom, all those kinds of things. So good luck. I hope this video was helpful, and look forward to getting your papers.